Welcome everyone, one and all, to my reaction to episode 2 of Heated Rivalry Olympians. Now, very excited to be getting into this one. Obviously, with where we ended off last episode, they're not exactly in the best place, you know, Shane and Ilya. Things were very much left on a sour note, shall we say, but I'm still extremely excited to see where we're going to be going from here, because obviously in a show that is jumping around so much time-wise, I don't have too much knowledge surrounding what it is, like what a season of this game is. I don't know how long the season lasts in terms of when it starts and when it ends. So the vibe that I got was that we were still in 2010 and we were in like the end of 2010, but I might have been wrong there. So we'll see if we do get a better indicator of how much time, not necessarily how much time has passed, but more so like where we're at, because we kept just getting these six-month things. So I was having to work it out myself. So I'm pretty sure we're at the end of 2010. We might be in 2011 though. Guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, very excited to see where we are going to be sort of like catching up with them, because I assume if we are going to have the off season, they're not going to see each other, considering he was going back to Russia. So where are we going to pick up? You know, when are they going to see each other again? And what is it going to be like when they see each other again? I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yes, with that said though, very excited to get into it and see where we go from here. So without further ado, let's jump back in to the world of Heated Rivalry. Okay, so we're in the off season. Summer 2011. Oh my god, thank you for actually giving me like a pinpoint date. I've been needing it. Oh, for goodness sake. That'll piss me off. It would definitely make me smile, but I'd be a little bit pissed off. Oh my fucking god. God, it's so funny how uncomfortable it makes Shane. You know Ilya loves that it makes him uncomfortable. Look at him, he's bloody smitten. I do like that Shane is sticking to his boundaries if it's making him uncomfortable. So like whoever wins is gonna fuck you.
If Rosanna fucks you tonight, I'm gonna fucking back.
I think you mean fucks with.
He's like the absurdity. He is, let's be real. I think it's a mix. It is what he wants. He's wanted to talk to you in that way, but he's obviously trying to throw you off a bit as well. Interesting. Oh, the smile of an opening. No, actually, seriously, who taught him that word? Oh.
You will murder me.
Maybe. Get in.
That was so cute.
So where do you want me? In the kitchen, on the floor?
Oh my god.
No, you come here. No, you come here. No, you come here.
God, Shane is a lot more playful now. A lot more in control, I'd say. I wonder if he's had experience with other people. I'm still just constantly amazed by how well they sell the intimacy. Like, it's an insanely well done job as an actor to be able to sell it this well. It's crazy.
Worth the wait.
It's a very fucking long wait. Bro.
I should go.
Yep, I knew it was coming the second I saw that look on his face. You could read it one of two ways. It could either be that Ilya was noticing that Shane was being, you know, very loving, obviously being very intimate with him. Obviously, feelings are there. You can't deny, based on what we've just saw, that that was anything but just a hookup, you know what I mean? But you could read it as Ilya detected that within Shane and thought like, ah shit, things are going in a direction I'm not comfortable with. Or you could read it as Ilya was being comforted by Shane, you know, getting kissed on the forehead, all stuff like that, and you got to start to get those good feelings and all that. And it made him scared. It made him want to run away, which I think is the more likely scenario, just because I think it's a lot more common to actually be catching feelings in this moment as well and be scared of that, especially in their environment. So yeah, guess we'll see. The way that I'm reading Ilya at the moment is Ilya likes having the power, likes being in control, because there is a distance between them when it comes to like the sexting and everything. There's obviously a physical distance, but as well, there's a distance in intimacy because you're kind of just talking about sex and everything. And like, yeah, sex can be intimate, but it can also just be an action when you're talking about like hooking up with someone and everything. So I think he enjoys that distance, but it's not that he doesn't enjoy the intimacy, it's that the intimacy is scary. And you cannot deny with what we just saw that there was feelings coming from both of them. Like, my God, the way they were kissing each other, like just the way they were holding each other, Broski, wow. Like, you cannot deny shit at this point, so we'll see where this goes with Ilya. I feel like Ilya might go a little bit AWOL, and Shane will be like, wait, why is he not texting? And then, yeah, we'll see.
Your family must be happy they're in Russia. My parents are pretty psyched for me. I bet your parents will be there, right?
My father, yes.
Trying to get some info.
Remember when I made you come hands-free?
Go fuck yourself, Rosna.
Such a good trick.
Oh my
is definitely
God,
here.
bro. The accent does very much help with the ability to sell it. Ooh. Oh, I hate that. I hate that. I feel like we've all been in that kind of situation and it sucks.
So for any dude who's that brave,
What do you mean?
I'm assuming your buddy might be gay. I mean, it's fucking brave for a dude to show up to a place like this and be like,
It is very brave.
it's not safe for folks like that. Fucking balls of steel, man.
Yeah. Nice to see that we have an ally here, though. The guy on the left is the same guy from last episode, right? My curiosity surrounding his sexuality has been heightened based on his facial expressions there.
I'm just gonna find the bathroom.
Oh no. Oh, I'm scared of how this is gonna go. Oh no, what happened? Oh, for goodness sake. He's obviously not gonna be in a good headspace to talk to Shane, though.
Not here.
No, no. I saw you up here. I wanted to see how you're doing.
Fine. Go sit down.
My boy. Oh no.
No, I did not answer your boring text. Now you go.
There we go.
Fuck.
That sucked. You could see it coming from a mile away. He was not in the right headspace to be talking. He asked Shane to leave, and I'm not mad at Shane for this. I think that Shane's definitely in the more understandable position when it comes to the communication between the two of them and trying to understand what's going on, you know? Because this is that kind of situation where you are just kind of like lost in your mind. Like, what is going on between us? Like, where do we stand? Because we had that night together, and you can't tell me that that was just a fuck. Like, we were intimate. There was intimacy there. There was feelings there, you know? We obviously care for each other, but then you're not answering my text asking how you're doing and everything. Like, are we just hooking up? But it didn't feel like we were just hooking up, you know what I mean? So I think Shane's definitely in the more understandable position of trying to figure things out, but with our knowledge of Ilya and our knowledge of his background with his family and everything that obviously Shane doesn't have, it was very obvious that that was not going to go down well, because not only is Ilya running away from the idea of the relationship, he's now dealing with a personal issue with his family because he's already wanting to avoid Shane because of the feelings. He's going to go into attack mode, and he's going to go into hurt feelings mode. So yeah, just not the best environment to talk to him, but it's one of those situations where it's kind of like, well, it's up to Ilya to reach out now, but is he just going to reach out asking to fuck again? Because if I was Shane, I'd be a bit pissed off with that after everything that they've been through since, you know?
Это не игра, а халтура. Настоящий позор — это не оправдывать надежды, которые ты показывал в детстве.
God, what a relationship. This is horrible.
Ты, капитан, ты делаешь их сыгранными. Всегда ищешь кого-то виноватым с самого детства.
Oh, God. Hearing that from your dad, you know, like, God.
Нет, отец. Мама умерла. Ты не помнишь?
Oh. Interesting.
Нам нужно идти. Нагала вечер.
Now it's making a lot of sense, the whole, how's dad? Okay. Why is his brother getting so aggressive when he's asking how dad is, though? Does his brother maybe not know?
Это всегда проблема. Лидерство.
Я веду Илью в бар. Ему явно нужен еще один бокал.
Interesting.
Смотри, как она его за собой.
С самого детства.
Okay, so they've known each other for a very long time, then. Who is this?
Давненько, Илья.
Coach's son?
Я бы сказал спасибо, но я знаю, что ты не смотрел ни одной игры.
Сыном тренера по хоккею.
So this is the coach's son. Interesting.
Но вам нужно еще договориться. Увидимся в Бостоне. Пока-пока.
Now I'm curious if she knows about the history between these two. This is just such a weird dynamic. I'm not used to it. I don't know how to read it.
Девушки, просто прелесть. А мальчики, ну, ты же видел французских парней.
Oh, he's seen a boy who can speak French, all right? Seen him very well. Jesus Christ.
Здесь? Серьезно?
Опасность раньше возбуждала тебе.
Yeah, we've already established that.
Прекрати.
Ладно, поехали куда-нибудь.
Нет.
Why is he saying no? That's my biggest question. I was thinking you were looking at that text message, okay. So clearly Shane was on his mind in his saying no then. Interesting. So hard to read when Ilya is so so adamant on being distant from Shane, you know? It's tough to understand. I can imagine it's even harder for Shane.
So leave it all the fuck out there tonight. This is our fucking cup.
He's doing a very good job of inspiring the team, in my opinion. Damn. Second language as well. You have learned very well over the years, it seems.
Go fuck yourself.
What an intriguing dynamic between those two. My boy. Oh, okay. I thought he was crying then. I was like, no. Mixed bag of emotions. Okay. Oh no! Stop! No, that was actually heartbreaking. Oh no.
Nice watch. I get this
Okay.
Where the fuck were you? We're on 5 seconds.
25 seconds.
What were you even doing?
I was busy.
With who?
Interesting.
Okay, fine, but hurry up.
Has he got something else on the screen? Okay.
Great. Give me your number. I'll text them to you.
You cheeky bastard. He's gonna be pissed about that. And here we go.
What? What the fuck do you want, Rosanov?
Yep.
You won't even acknowledge I exist unless there's a fucking camera pointed at us, and then it's for some fucking clown show.
Nice.
So yeah, what the fuck do you actually want from me?
It's so intriguing looking at a character like this because they have an idea of what they want, but it just seems so unobtainable with all of the other shit going on in their life that they have to try and run away from it because it's terrifying, because it's scary, because they've got so much that is uncontrollable in their life that the only things that they can control, they fucking latch on to that control. And so the idea of letting himself go, the idea of being vulnerable with someone, vulnerability is like the last thing on his list right now. And so it's really interesting when you get a situation like this where things have gotten to a point where they're like, I don't want to say serious, but like Shane's gotten to that point that most people get to where it's like, what the fuck do you want from me? You're giving me all of these signals as if you want something more. We have these nights together and I can feel that this is more than just a hookup. And then you just ignore me for 6 months. And then what? We're on fucking stage and you're rubbing my back? What the fuck is that about, you know? So I think this was inevitable, but how Ilya handles this is going to be the most interesting part because I don't think that he's just so quickly going to let that go and just so quickly transform as a person. I think it will probably take an explosion from Shane, to be real, for Ilya to let any level of his guard down, but maybe he'll prove me wrong. I guess we'll see.
I want you to suck my dick.
Oh, fuck you. You are unbelievable. You suck my dick.
Is he just going to?
Maybe as nicely.
Yeah? Please.
Oh, Shane.
Please get on your knees on this filthy bathroom floor and suck my dick. Please.
This is interesting, though, because this doesn't really resolve anything. But it's once again proof of the intimacy that's there.
No, we have been waiting all night. You'll come back to my hotel room, and I will maybe do more than just suck your dick.
Ever the man wanting control.
I read the New Yorker now. Really? No. The New Yorker is boring.
I thought you liked boring things.
Good luck tonight.
If I was Shane, I think I probably would have leaned into everything that he leaned into there, but afterwards, when I'm like actually sat with my thoughts, I would be annoyed once again, because I'm like, well, we didn't really resolve anything, did we? But okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Now take off your clothes.
You're such an asshole.
Well, he won, so that's it.
What?
He's uncomfortable with the windows.
It's a lot of windows.
Ilya's body language is really interesting here. It's intimidating. You sure this is your first time doing this? Now wait a damn minute. Someone's giving the vibe of they know how to give a show. This is a lot colder than before, which is interesting. Much less intimacy, which doesn't surprise me.
So Russia this year was
Something else?
And so the small talk begins.
Do you have to?
Why are you
There's
asking?
no have to. It's home.
I don't know. Is it safe? Do you even like it there?
Oh, I didn't even pick up on that earlier. Oh, shit.
What difference does it make?
A pretty big one, I think.
What difference does this make is...
So, I'm off.
Goodbye, Hollander.
This is so sad. If I was a friend of Shane without my knowledge of Ilya and his background and his family, shit like that, I would be thinking that Shane deserves so much better, but with that background knowledge of Ilya, it makes you feel just as sad for him, but it's just like, I don't know. Oh, Shane, you're such a little sweetheart. That's a really cool storytelling technique. You caught the feelings, my friend. That was a sad ending. It wasn't a surprising direction for the story. I was expecting us to go this way just because I think it is something that has been done before in these kinds of stories. Obviously, that's not like a critique or anything. God, if you're trying to come up with like a completely unique story, good luck. Everything's been done at this point. You know what I mean? But yeah, the idea of someone getting into basically just hookups with another person and one of them starting to catch feelings, the other one being against it, and seeing that person kind of really struggle with the idea of things not progressing anywhere, but you add in like all of the context of like being gay in the time period, like everything is so stacked against them that it's just, I don't know, it's really complicated, but yeah, we'll get into more details in a minute. So yes, there we have season 1, episode 2 of Heated Rivalry, and that was fantastic, but I knew we were going to go in this direction, as I said, but it just doesn't help with the heartbreak. You know what I mean? Like, Shane is just such a sweetheart, and whenever you see a person like that in this kind of situation, it really just breaks your heart, and you want to just, like, scream at them that they deserve better, for example, but then I don't want to say that, because equally, I don't think that Ilya doesn't deserve this, and, like, doesn't deserve Shane. It's just that really fucked up situation where when someone is like so lost in their head and dealing with so much shit, and then you add in the cultural context of what Ilya has been through growing up and existing in that country as either a gay man or at least someone who has feelings for men as well, it's really, really sad looking at that kind of person and realizing what these, like, foundational things in their life has done to them. You know, like, what his father's influence, what his brother's influence, what his cultural influence is in being gay, you know, like, how that affects you. It's so sad to see when someone is just, like, so closed off, so unable to seek things that will make them happy because of these things that have been, like, instilled in them, you know. And obviously, I'm speaking from things that we haven't heard from Ilya yet, so maybe there are some other things that are holding him back as well, but I would say that from what I've gathered so far, those are probably the biggest ones. You know, the expectations of his father, and then seeing how homophobic his brother was, you can absolutely assume that his dad is the same way. So those expectations of his father, seeing his father be... It seems as though his father is struggling with an illness, but it's not a debilitating illness. It doesn't seem like something that is at least progressed to a level where he's unable to attend social events, for example. Like, he's able to hold conversations and, like, be present in the moment and stuff like that, but it seems as though his mind is slipping a little bit, so makes you think of things like Alzheimer's, stuff like that, you know, and maybe it's the early onset and it's, like, slowly getting worse, I don't know, but when you add that in as well, and your father being the thing that has pushed you into this sport, this thing that has pushed you into this life, so curious to hear from Ilya as to whether this is even something that he wants to do, because he obviously enjoys the sport and the competitiveness of it, but is this the life that he wants? Is, like, being a professional athlete exactly what he wants, or is that something that's been pushed on to him? I would say so far it seems as though it's something that he wants, but without hearing his inner thoughts, it's hard to know. But yeah, really enjoyed so many different aspects of this episode. One thing that I did note down at the end was one thing that I love when it comes to taking a book medium and transforming it into a TV show is the one thing that they struggle with, and we spoke about this last time, is that you can really struggle to get an understanding of what's going on in someone's head, because in a book, it's the easiest thing in the world. You know, you just have the internal dialogue of the person on the page, and the audience gets to have an understanding. But for TV, it's a lot harder, because it's rare to have moments where people are outwardly introspective, you know, and they're actually speaking about their thoughts and feelings. The way that I love it done usually in TV and everything is where we have like therapy sessions, because that's where you really get an understanding of what's going on in someone's head. So that's like a technique that I've always really loved. But what I absolutely adore that they've done here is that they use the deleted messages specifically for Shane to basically have that, to basically give us that understanding of what's going on in his head. Now, with seeing that he's deleted those messages, we now know that in his head he's thinking, but we didn't even kiss, you know? We didn't even really have a proper goodbye with saying, like, see you next season, you know? Like, it's just, you can see what's going on in his head through those deleted messages, and we would have been able to, like, think that might be what's going on in Shane's head, but that kind of like confirms it, and I absolutely love using that as a storytelling technique. I thought that was fantastic. But yeah, it just leads me back to like the overall heartbreak of the episode, which is watching someone like Shane, who is an absolute sweetheart, who wants things to progress, who cares about him, who is wanting to have an understanding of like his safety when he goes back home, and wanting to know what they are, wanting it to be something more than it is, and in those moments of like having sex with this person and everything, realizing that, wait, last time we were like so intimate, last time we were kissing, last time we were holding each other, and it was so wonderful, and then this time it was so cold, it was so detached, you know? And the fact that he realized that and was like coping with that in his head after the bathroom scene earlier of already realizing that he is struggling so much with this, it bloody well sucks, because you can't even escape it, you know? Like, even if he tries to escape it in a, like, private life route, they're constantly pinned up against each other in the media, that he is constantly having to think about Ilya. He is constantly having to be in the presence of Ilya, and when you're in this kind of situation and you're struggling so much emotionally, that can fuck you up. That can really fuck you up, because, like, there's no escape. There's never an escape, even when you're trying to avoid them and, like, not see them, not have sex, shit like that. They're always there. And I don't know. That's just such a uniquely heartbreaking scenario, you know what I mean? So as I was saying earlier, if I was a friend in Shane's life and I didn't have this insight that the audience does into Ilya's life, I would absolutely be telling Shane that, like, you deserve better, just because, like, when you do see a friend in this kind of scenario, when you do see someone in a relationship that seems as though it is so one-sided, and like even calling a relationship is too much, because it's not a relationship, but it basically is at this point, you know, but Ilya is just so detached from everything, but you just know that deep down it's what Ilya wants, it's what Ilya himself deserves. He just can't get himself there at the moment, and it's really bloody heartbreaking to see, but fingers crossed it won't take too long for him to get there, you know? One thing that I did miss from earlier that I noted down was that I missed, when they were talking about earlier, the other players, about, like, Russia obviously not being a safe place and everything, I didn't, like, connect the dots in my head that Shane probably only in that moment kind of realized that, and only in that moment was, like, putting those pieces together of, like, wait, so that this is like where Ilya's from. It's obviously not safe for gay people, so how does Ilya get by here, you know? Like, I don't even know that side of his life because he never fucking opens up to me. And yeah, I just really hope the next episode we can see Ilya's barriers come down a little bit. Mostly for Shane, because I don't want to see my boy struggling so much, but also just because he does deserve it himself. It's just so sad when someone is like putting their everything into everything but their own personal happiness, you know? And then the final thing I'll talk about before we get into question time is just like how much this is also shown in how loving and caring Ilya himself is. Like in the like previous sex scene before the one that we ended off on, he literally was like constantly asking, is this okay? Is this still okay while they're doing stuff, you know? Because he cares about him. He cares about what's happening in that moment. And you can tell how much of like a softie Ilya is in his heart, but there's just like something holding him back. There's something deep holding him back. And as I discussed earlier, it could be so many things. It could be expectations of his father, expectations of his family, expectations of his country. When you add that pressure in of being in the hockey industry and stuff like that, you know, like there's just so much pressure from everyone and everything that like it really is just hindering him from his own happiness, and it fucking sucks at this point. So yeah, fingers crossed we do actually get to see some advancement for that for Ilya specifically, so that he can find happiness and Shane can find some peace of mind. But yeah, with that said though, I'm gonna quickly go and check to see if we have any Patreon questions for this time. Right, okay, we have a lot of questions this time. Okay, as always though, if there is something that I feel like I've already covered, I will be skipping that question just because I don't want to be like treading over things we've already spoken spoken about. But yeah, other than that then, let's jump in. So, first up then, what did you make of the conversation between Shane, Scott, and Carter about the figure skating friend at the Olympics? The showrunner said he told Carter's actor to play the scene with the energy of someone who has a lesbian sister he's supportive of. If I were his lesbian sister, I would probably give him a hard time about assuming people's sexualities based on whether or not they figure skate, but in the context of men's professional sports, he's clearly quite progressive. What did you make of Shane's reaction, and what did you think he was feeling internally during that scene? So I was not... This is the scene that I was talking about, where I was originally just thinking Shane's thinking about, like, his own personal journey, and also, like, obviously his own personal safety, given that he is currently in Russia, and also the fact that obviously that is his friend, and if this guy's thinking that he could be gay, maybe other people are thinking that he could be gay, and not just that, but again, thinking of himself, thinking, well, is this what some people may be thinking of me? You know, do people that I don't realize, like, are there people out there that I'm not realizing are talking about me like this behind my back? You know what I mean? I'm sure that fear is well and truly alive within him, but I also think that it was about Ilya. I also think that in that moment it kind of like clicked in his mind, like, oh shit, this is like the environment, this is the society, this is the culture that Ilya grew up in, this is the like country that he would have experienced all of this homophobia maybe on a daily basis. But even if it wasn't like personal, when you do grow up gay, you are constantly aware of the environment around you for your own fucking safety. You're always aware of the thoughts and opinions of people around you when it comes to sexualities and stuff like that. And so I'm sure that in that moment it clicked for him as well, a side of Ilya that, because he does have these feelings developing for Ilya, but Ilya is just like such a closed book when it comes to like actually talking about shit. It's like he's like kind of grasping for anything that gives him information, anything that gives him a level of understanding of who Ilya is as a person. So yeah, that's at least how I was reading it. But yeah, moving on though, next up, what do you think Shane's understanding of his own sexuality is at this point? He's been in an ongoing sexual relationship with a man for years now. Do you think he's mentally explored what this means for his identity or any potential labels, etc.? That's a good question I haven't really considered so far. I've kind of been running with the idea that he would already be assuming that he is gay. I would think that he does assume that he is gay, because he's mentioned that he has a dildo. He's mentioned that, like, more so that he hasn't mentioned anything in relation to women up to this point. So I'd say that he probably has an understanding that he is gay, but I don't know. It's hard to like gain a full grasp when this was not too long ago, but obviously set a bit in the past, because I was too young at that point to be thinking on the levels that Shane is thinking of when it comes to sexuality. So I don't know what it would have been like, say, 10 years ago at this point. Well, God, a little bit over 10 years now. What the environment was exactly like in that moment to be experiencing. I'm not sure. It was definitely a lot more progressive than, say, like early 2000s, but wasn't where we're at today. It was on its way to getting to its peak, to be fair. What year was same-sex marriage supported in America? 2015, okay. So in the like other country that they're in a lot, because I'm pretty sure Canada was like mid-2000s, right, that they legalized same-sex marriage. I'm pretty sure they were one of the like first handful of countries to do it, which pop the fuck off, Canada. But yeah, I'm curious now then, thinking of that, whether that has like impacted him at all, because obviously spending a lot of time in America as well. I'd be curious to know in the time period what it was like, opinions on gay people and everything compared to Canada. Like if you go from Montreal to Boston, for example, like what is the vibe of those two cities in that time period, you know? But yeah, anyway, getting back to the question, I think that it's a hard one to have a full understanding of, because it wasn't exactly where we're at now. But yeah, I don't know. I would think that he would be thinking that he's gay at this point, just based on the context clues that I've got, but guess we'll have to wait and see. Okay, interesting. So this question is about how they may have changed over the years, and the like actual question part of it is, do you think Ilya or Shane have changed, and if so, what do you think about their change in relation to like growing as young men now? I think that the biggest change that I've seen is probably in Shane. Shane has grown a lot more confident, you know, like he's grown a lot more confident in the bedroom and also just in like every aspect of life. And I think that would happen when you are in a like sport environment, when you are in an influencer position, you know what I mean, where you're getting into like celebrity status and everything. I would think that the confidence would absolutely boom out of you, you know? But I think that when it comes to like intimacy and everything, especially when you are a gay person, when it's like kind of especially when you're in an environment that's very like hush hush, do not talk about it, do not reveal it and everything, you would think that confidence wouldn't translate to the bedroom, because it would be an area that probably is like so private and so filled with shame for the most people, I would assume, in this kind of environment. But it seems as though Shane is quite confident in that environment as well, which had me thinking as to whether Shane had any other experience outside of Ilya, because Shane doesn't give me the vibe that he would. Shane doesn't give me the vibe that he would seek a hookup outside of wanting to develop a relationship with someone. But I would think that if that was happening, we would have seen it. So I don't think he's been with anyone else except Ilya. So keeping that in mind, it's like, well, where's his confidence come from then, you know? Like, I'm really fucking proud of my boy that he's been able to find this. But yeah, it's one of the most interesting aspects of this show, this massive time jumps, because it's very, very, very rare in storytelling to have time jumps like this. Like, maybe a season finale going into the next one. You expect, like, a year, maybe a couple of years or something, but the idea of passing multiple years in a couple of episodes, we've passed, like, what, 5, 6? Absolute insanity. And when you add in the context of like them knowing each other this entire time but not actually knowing each other, it makes it even more heartbreaking thinking of like Shane's position. You know, like him just like wanting more out of this, him not having anyone else that he can be this way with, not having anyone else that he can be this intimate and this close to and having these feelings with, you know, to have such loneliness in that regard. It sucks to see him in this position, you know what I mean? But yeah, with that said though, moving on, next up, also to put things into perspective timeline-wise with all the Russia talk this episode, although it was never acceptable or safe to be gay, it was only made outwardly punishable by law in 2013 before the Olympics. What did you think of Ilya's behavior while in Russia? He's seemingly the one closed off now, while Shane is the one trying to get him to open up. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. I think that I was expecting Ilya to become a lot more closed off when we started to see moments of intimacy. I didn't know about the becoming illegal, like punishable by law in Russia right before the Olympics, though. Okay, that adds another like layer to what's going on here then. Interesting. So I wonder how that works as like a Russian citizen then. Because, like, if anything came out, obviously punishable by law is an absolutely massive thing. And if we're talking about, like, shame to family as well, adding that element in, if you add punishable by law, my God, stress, you know? So, yeah, God, I'm going to have to, like, sit and think with that now, because I did not have that information going into it then, because that alters a lot of what we saw this episode, because that could absolutely be an influence as to why he was so closed off then. I would think that it was probably an influence as to why he was so closed off, but I'm still sticking with the idea that it was the intimacy itself, no matter what, that also made him become so closed off, just because of that one moment when they were laying in bed, when he was like processing what was happening, like Shane gently kissing his forehead and everything. You could see that in that moment, panic hit, like in an instant. And so, yeah, still sticking with that, but that is some very keyed information to be aware of. Thank you. But yes, moving on next up, we see Shane in this episode trying to get Ilya to open up, and he seems hurt when Ilya instead shuts him out. Do you think Shane went about it correctly, or is there truly anything he could have done to get through to Ilya? Very good question. I don't know if there's anything that he could have done. I think that Ilya is in that position where the reason that things are like so toxic and the reason that things just like are not clicking at the moment is because of Ilya. It's coming from Ilya. Now, is it fair to say that Ilya is like fully responsible? No. He's grown up in an environment where it would obviously be very hard to be open and to be vulnerable with a man like this. You know what I mean? But it is also that kind of situation where it's like, I have so much love and respect for both of them, and I want the best for both of them, but the court is really in Ilya's hand. Like, well, what's the right, how do you use that phrase? The court is in Ilya's control? I don't fucking know. But yeah, he is very much the one who needs to handle this going forward, because Shane has made it very clear what he's looking for. He's obviously not said it, but it's pretty fucking obvious. Shane wants more than what this is, and Ilya can detect that. Ilya knows that. Ilya also wants that from what we've seen. He is also someone who is like developing feelings here and is wanting to explore that, but then there is something that is like, it's like he's hitting a wall every time, and that wall got too serious when they were having that really intimate moment in the bed, that since then he's become extremely closed off and is kind of just like letting that part of himself die at the moment. So the responsibility going forward is really in Ilya's hands when it comes to like their relationship and seeing where things go, but I guess we'll have to just wait and see. But in terms of whether Shane did, like, went about it correctly, I absolutely think so. I think Shane was coming from this from, like, a very mature standpoint. It was just that my boy's feelings were starting to get hurt, and he was getting emotional, you know, bless his little heart. The show doesn't provide a translation in the subtitles, but Ilya's Russian shout while holding the cup after winning it translates to something along the lines of, "For you, mum," or "This is for you, mum." Oh, bless. Ilya is someone we've seen be more egotistical than thankful when winning winning games. So what does this softer happiness when winning show about his character in your opinion? We also only found out this episode that his mother has passed. Is there anything to that Ilya backstory that you think we may or may not explore? Whoa, massive question. I don't know if we're going to explore it. I'm very much down for anything at this point. I think that we could go in so many directions. I would think that we're not close to exploring anything yet when it comes to him and Shane. I think we still need to have that like catalyst to get Ilya to start to open up a bit more. But that is really nice to find out about his mum. I think the mum side of things was like one of the most interesting parts of this episode because it seemed to, like, him saying to his dad, like, mum died, it was, like, very hard for him to say that, and so, like, the vibes that I'm getting, especially with finding out that that's what he was saying, was that he was probably very close to his mum. He probably was very hurt when his mother died. How that changed his father, his brother, and their entire family dynamics is where I'm like the most interested in discovering, though, because did that like completely fuck everything? You know, like, was his brother, for instance, a bit more of a nicer person before this? Was his relationship with his father a lot more was she kind of like yin and yang when it came to like parenting him, and because she was gone, he's now only left with like the harshness of his father and he's lost the softness of his mother, you know? And then when we consider the idea of the intimacy that we've seen this episode in the bed with Shane holding him, giving him like gentle kisses and everything, if we run along that idea of his mother maybe being that like softer person in his life, maybe that was also a trigger point for him, and that's also why he wanted to leave, because it was reminding him of that comfort, you know? So many things that we can explore with the idea of losing his mother. But yeah, I don't know. I think we saw a lot of softness with Ilya up until that point of that intimacy in the bedroom. And then, unfortunately, we saw, like, a complete shutdown. But now that we've added in the element of it being illegal in Russia in that time as well, it's like, well, fuck me. A million things could have been going on in his head right now. And I think that that was also very, very well shown with him standing in that party with his father and just completely zoning out, like, millions of things flooding his mind. I think that it's been very evident for a long time that Ilya just is lost with both himself and also just like the sheer amount of pressure that is on him right now. Now, moving on next up, when Ilya wins the cup, Shane's face goes through many different emotions. Which ones do you think are most prominent, and what do you think about him being mostly blank until he's not surrounded by his teammates? One of which, I'm not sure if you picked up on it, used the term cocksucking Russian as an insult towards Ilya moments before this. How lovely. Yeah, there were a lot of emotions going through Shane's face there. I think there was the obvious heavy ones of, I'm having feelings for this guy. I'm liking this guy. But what the fuck is going on between us? You know, like, he's not talking to me. We're having no communication. He's shutting me out. But then when we're together, there's like this massive level of intimacy. So like, what the fuck's going on? And I think that was a lot of the confusion, a lot of the sadness going on there. But there was also a bit of happiness there. And I think there was a bit of happiness for him, you know, because even though they do have this rivalry and everything, he is catching feelings for him. And so seeing him in a moment of just like pure joy, I think absolutely he was feeling happy for him in that moment. But in terms of like mostly being blank until his teammates surrounded him and everything, I think as gay people, when you're growing up and when you're in an environment that is homophobic, and especially, well, this is the thing, like most of us grow out of these toxic environments because we are able to find like a lot more safer environments and a lot more like, we find our people, we find things that make us happy in life, you know, but when you are younger and you're in, like, school systems and stuff like that, you know, where you can't choose where you are, you become very hyper-aware of what is around you. You become very hyper-aware of the people around you, how you are being perceived, you know. You are, especially in Shane's position, where he is in a homophobic environment and trying to hide, you're so aware of every single person around you and the gaze of others and how they are perceiving you. And also when you add in what we were discussing last episode of, like, the autistic element as well, that also comes into play, you know, the being perceived and being hyper aware of that, you know. I think just with that context, he must just constantly be controlling his face, constantly be controlling his behavior, constantly be editing himself around other people. And it seems as though he lives quite a solitary life outside of that, just from what we've seen. That is like far easier said than done, because most of the scenes we're getting is about him and Ilya, and so it's hard to know whether he has like a big supportive friend group and shit like that. But just from the vibes that we've gotten, it doesn't seem as though outside of his team, he has like anyone that he's close to, and he lives like quite a lonely life, shall we say, you know, always on his own. And I think that is also a part of that, you know, the vibe of I'm constantly having to edit myself around other people, and I don't feel like I can be myself until I'm on my own, and then I actually have my own space and I can actually be myself. I can actually like decompress, you know what I mean? And so I'm thinking that is why the Ilya stuff is even harder for him as well, because this is someone that he is growing a comfortability with, growing a love for, and it's not being reciprocated, and he doesn't know what to do because he hasn't felt this with other people. He hasn't experienced this before. He hasn't got any other options, you know what I mean? And so it's just like, well, fuck, what does he do? But yeah, looping back to the question, I think that a lot of it is just like editing himself. But yeah, in terms of the emotions, absolutely a mix of like happy for Ilya, but also just confusion and sadness as to like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? But yes, moving on then, next up, the bathroom scene, although starting out vulgar, is personally to me one of the most romantic scenes in the show. The look on Shane's face, the happiness to be talking to Ilya again, combined with the anger at their separation and the sadness that it's been so long. Him saying wow to how good Ilya's English has gotten, it just speaks to me. How did you feel about it? And if you had to pick your own favorite scene from this episode, which one would it be? Oh my god. I would have to say I've spoken about it so many times, the scene of Shane holding him and Ilya kind of like panicking and running away, just because like my favorite scenes are always the ones that like are the most human, are the most real, and there was something about that, just seeing that moment of them both just like losing themselves to the love, losing themselves to the good feelings, and then boom, snap right back to reality. So I would absolutely say that, just because god, these actors can fucking sell it. But yeah, with what you were talking about there about the bathroom scene, I did really enjoy the bathroom scene. I am such a like such a communicator when it comes to like getting to the root cause of things and like not letting things go, that I find scenes like that, even though they are extremely romantic, and I absolutely agree with those moments of seeing Shane and everything, it almost feels more heartbreaking for me than romantic, just because you can see that there is love building between the two of them. You know, it feels silly to say love this early in regards to like how close they are, but it's been years at this point and there's obvious feelings there. So I would absolutely say that it's love that is beginning to grow here. But to see that look on Shane's face and like the sadness of being gone so long or stuff like that, I just found that so heartbreaking, because they're in a situation where, as I said, it's up to Ilya at this point to figure some stuff out to then see where we can go going forward. But it doesn't make seeing Shane in this position any easier, because he's such a lovely, sweet person who obviously just wants a boyfriend, you know, just wants Ilya, and Ilya is unable to do that right now. And it's not to say that like Ilya is the villain in this or anything. It's equally sad for Ilya, because you know that he wants it as well, and he is just fully holding himself back. But yeah, to loop back to the question and everything, I think that the romance of this episode and the intimacy between the two of them was even more than last episode, and it kind of like aided in that like sadness that I was feeling in my heart, because you can just so easily see that these two people are wanting more than what is happening here. Just one of them simply cannot get himself to go there, you know what I mean? So hopefully it happens sometime soon. But yes, moving on to our next set of questions then. First up, Ilya is doing an amazing job asking for consent while having sex. For many of us, he is the king of consent. Absolutely. Did it surprise you seeing his character so far that he is such a role model in this part of his life, or did you expect it to be this way / to this extent? Maybe not to this extent. I think that it surprised me just how much of like a sweetheart he is deep down, but it didn't surprise me that this is how he is. Ilya so far, I've definitely been reading as this kind of person who he outwardly is very confident, outwardly is very sexual, you know, and is just like always giving this air of control, you know. He is always wanting the control in the situation and everything, because when people are fearful of vulnerability, when people are fearful of getting close with someone and everything, control is like bread and butter. Control is what they need and what they want in that moment. And so I was always expecting Ilya to be very soft when it actually came to intimacy. But yeah, I would say that it did surprise me with how soft he was, like continuously asking for consent, but not just like the asking for consent, the way that he does it, like the tone, the feeling, like there's so much love and care there, you know, and that I think was a little bit surprising. But yeah, definitely saw that side coming. I just really hope that it's not too long before we get to see it again. Moving on though, next up, which character is your current favorite? It's hard, and I'm not just saying this. Genuinely, both of them, for very different reasons, though. I think Ilya is my favorite character when it comes to wanting to explore him more, wanting to have a better understanding of him as a person, his background, his, how he grew up, you know, how he has become this very, like, hard-shelled person, this person who just does not want to let these inner walls go down. That, like, interests me so much, and so he's my favorite in that regard, but Shane is my favorite just in, like, I love him. Like, I want to protect him. I want to hug him. I want to make sure he is okay, you know? Like, it's just, like, when you have this person who is just, like, deep down such a fucking sweetheart, it's so hard seeing them in this kind of situation where they are not, like, being treated the way that they deserve to be treated. And, yeah, I've spoken about it so much, but it's just been fucking heartbreaking. So, yeah, I would say equally both of them at the moment, but for very different reasons. And I think that's the best type of scenario you can have when you've got, like, two lead people. Like, I want to be able to love them for different reasons, and I want to be able to see more of them for different reasons. You know what I mean? Moving on then, next up, Svetlana is Ilya's childhood friend and occasional hookup. In many ways, the two of them better embody the no-strings-attached fuck buddy concept that Shane and Ilya have been trying for. Do you have any theories for why theirs is a platonic/sexual relationship, while Holonov's, that's so cute, is romantic/sexual? Is it that Ilya and Svetlana are too much alike, Russian partiers, tough and sarcastic, and Shane and Ilya's opposites attract? Or is it that Shane and Ilya are actually the ones who are more alike underneath the surface, competitive, under tremendous pressure, family-orientated, lonely, masking? This is a question for episode 2, of course, but also for future episodes as we learn more about all of the characters. Oh god, what a question. Let me sit and think of that for a minute. Svetlana and Ilya definitely give that vibe to me, at least, of they were in an environment where they did get along as friends. Like, they obviously get along very well. They are obviously friends for a reason, and it kind of, like, just developed into a fuck buddy situation because that's what they were both looking for, and it's just an easy way out in that regard, you know? But it doesn't touch on Ilya's soft side. You know, it doesn't touch on that side of Ilya that is, like, deep down what he wants to be loved for, shall we say, you know? Whereas with Shane, I think with Shane, because Shane is just so outwardly lovely, because Shane is just, like, so open to being vulnerable and so open to being just emotional with Ilya in those moments, I think that it's intimidating for Ilya, but I think it touches on those sides of Ilya that, as I was saying, are the sides of him that he, like, actually wants to have with another person, you know, because, like, yeah, sex can be fun, and partying can be fun, and when you're in the same environment that him and Svetlana are, and she has the knowledge of the sport, tied with the fact that they obviously grew up together, they have, like, so much history with each other and everything, there is a comfort in that, but there's not necessarily an emotional attachment when it comes to, like, being vulnerable and being intimate with a person when we've seen their dynamic. You know, it could be, but they obviously don't have that dynamic, and so finding Shane and, like, having this dynamic with him, I think that is what has been, like, the biggest struggle for Ilya, is trying to match what he has learned from having a fuck buddy with Svetlana and the situations that he's been in Russia pre-Shane when it came to coach's son or stuff like that. I think Ilya's biggest struggle here is he's, like, running so much on, like, the way that he would communicate in those kinds of relationships that it's equally a struggle for him to understand how to even, like, communicate with Shane, because he's not used to someone being this open, honest, and vulnerable, and so because that is a struggle of his as well, it's like, how the fuck do I even talk to this man? How the fuck do I even talk to him outside of just sexting him? You know what I mean? Like, any time that Shane tries to talk about something else, it's like he always resorts to calling it boring, Ilya, and that could be genuinely how he feels, but I don't think it is. I think it's that it does make him uncomfortable to be going into, like, personal, private stuff. I think the biggest example of that is in episode 1 when Shane was asking about, like, oh, who have you been with previously? There was, like, Ilya was holding back a bit before actually saying coach's son and all that, you know? And I think that was, like, my biggest indicator so far that Ilya struggles with talking about anything that isn't sexual, anything that isn't, like, surface level. So in terms of, like, why I think theirs is, like, platonic and Shane and Ilya's is more, like, romantic and everything, I think it is literally those parts of Ilya that he wants when it comes to romance, when it comes to a relationship, when it comes to being with someone, even though he may not be consciously aware, it's everything that Shane is offering, whereas Svetlana is, like, that easy, can get by and not really have to deal with any of the hard shit when it comes to being vulnerable with someone. You know what I mean? I feel like I rambled a bit there, but hopefully that all made sense. But moving on, next up then. Ilya's character is very tied to a sense of duty. He has a strong loyalty and desire to care for both his country and his ailing father, even though Russia has declared the LGBTQ movement an extremist organization, and any perceived support of it is punishable by prison time or worse, and his father clearly sucks. Furthermore, if he were to have a career-ending injury or be kicked out of the hockey league, he's a Russian citizen and wouldn't be able to stay in the US, so coming out in a very homophobic sport is especially dangerous for him. Given all this, do you find it interesting that he was the one who seemed less bothered by his/Shane's obvious attraction in episode 1? Do you think there is a way for Ilya to reconcile all the parts of himself, or is he ultimately going to have to choose which, Russia/his family versus Shane, matters more? Damn. We could go in multiple directions. I do think that the Russia/his family versus Shane is going to be like the ultimate like climax to the story, in the sense of like, which is he going to pick? Is he going to pick his own happiness over that? Because I would say that it expands past Russia/his family versus Shane. I think it expands even further to just, is he going to pick loyalty over his own happiness? Because that is what he is struggling with the most here. He is not allowing himself to be happy. He is not allowing those parts of himself that his country is telling him is shameful. He's not able to like get through that, to get to a place of being more accepting of himself, and to realize in these moments where he's getting scared of the intimacy and everything, to realize that he's getting scared because it fucking matters to him, because it's something real, you know? And I don't know if you can ever really reconcile that kind of thing, because I think reconciling something when it comes to family is different. I think that if you can learn to live with your family not accepting that side of yourself, it's a personal decision for everyone. And if that's something you can live with and you still want them in your life, you do you. You know, I'm never going to judge someone for that. And so that is one thing, but when it comes to like being a citizen of a country where it's illegal, it changes things. It makes things so much more severe and so much worse, and so much more than just like human emotions on the line. It's like his own physical safety and his future, you know? And so looking at that environment, it's a much harder question, because unless he is able to find a route that will give him the ability to gain citizenship somewhere else, either in America or, say, with Shane, he is able to find a route where he is able to become a Canadian citizen. That is another option. But yeah, unless he's able to find that, I think that their relationship is kind of doomed at this point, because how do you have a relationship when you are a citizen of a country where it is literally illegal? You know what I mean? Obviously, it still happens. There would be people in Russia who have those relationships and everything, but does that result in like a healthy, flourishing relationship, especially for someone who isn't born into that society and has like that just expectation of it? I don't think Shane would want that, and I don't think Shane would like settle for that. You know what I mean? I think it would be too hard. But yes, anyway, moving on to our last and final question for the episode. I love the scene of them running up the stairs at Shane's apartment building, especially after Ilya's team just lost to Shane's, because it shows how much fun they have competing against each other. Shane also doesn't seem to have the same resentment for Ilya's team winning the cup that he did over Ilya being the first draft pick. Does this show genuine progress in their relationship with each other? Shane also seems to finally understand that Russia is a source of pain, not comfort for Ilya, which is important. In what other ways do you think progress might have been made between them despite this episode's sad ending? I think personally, I discussed it earlier, but I think Shane has had some major developments when it comes to his confidence. He seems to be confident both in the bedroom and outside of the bedroom, which is absolutely fantastic to see. I think that the development for Ilya has been more sad. We've definitely seen him shut down more. We've seen him close off more, because it's one thing to like have those moments with Shane that we've spoken about where the intimacy scared him and he ran away and everything. It's one thing to have that, and for like a little bit after him being closed off and everything, it's a massive stretch of time that he has now been very closed off and very, very much kept within himself. And when we were seeing that scene at the party where he was standing with his dad and just so lost in his thoughts and his head, it's become very evident that, yeah, pressure's been there since episode 1, since the beginning, but pressure has just like skyrocketed for Ilya, and it's become so much that he is actively losing himself. So I would say we probably did get some development for both of them in this episode, but it's kind of like Shane has skyrocketed in both confidence and like discovering who he is and understanding himself, and it feels as though Ilya has kind of like reached a roadblock, and it's gotten to the point where Ilya doesn't really know how to progress forward for himself, so he's only focusing on the sport. He's only focusing on what is like the biggest pressure in his life, and is kind of just letting him and his personal life go, which is just just fucking sad to see. You know what I mean? And I think it is the perfect representation of what happens when people are accepted in a society and what happens when people are not. Because you're literally seeing what happens to someone who has grown up in Russia, who is in this environment. You're seeing how that is holding them back so much outside of like the hockey pressure, shit like that. I think that you could easily say that this is that influence of being someone who is a gay person growing up in that environment, compared to Shane, someone who, like, yeah, maybe he's not from like the most welcoming background and is still in the homophobic sport that Ilya is in, but it's just a very different environment to be growing up in. And it seems as though Shane has definitely matured a lot in these years and has found what has made him happy in his personal life outside of a relationship, but Ilya hasn't. At least that's how I've been reading it. So yeah, I think progress was made in their relationship as well leading up to the intimacy point, but since then, I think things got a little bit fucked, and even though Shane is like still trying and Shane is trying to have a better understanding of Ilya, there's just that too big of a roadblock in the way at the moment that we kind of like need Ilya to just get through it. Easier said than done, but it is what we need to progress any further. But yes, anyway, with that said though, we have talked so much. My God, this is going to be the like longest edit of my life. Apologies for how late this is going to be out, patrons. But yeah, that was an absolutely fantastic episode. I think that I was expecting it to be as good as it was just because of how good episode 1 was. I think that this is such a special show, not just being a queer story, but just such an interesting show in its premise all round. Like you got the gay element and you got the like experience of a queer person in Russia, like all of these different elements, but then add in the hockey element, a homophobic sport, then adding in the rival element. Like there's just so many unique things added to this story that it's so rare to find something that is this much of a gem of a show in the modern day. You know, I would say a lot of modern TV is a bit shit, if I'm being real. I hate the modern take on television when it comes to these bloody 8-episode seasons every few years, and they're just like not well done when it comes to connecting with characters and shit like that. Whereas this is the kind of show that like, yeah, we're gonna have a wait for the next season, but my God, have you done a fantastic job of selling me. Like, I am so attached to these characters that give it even fucking 2 years for season 2, I'll still be hooked with these characters and I'll still be loving them just because of the quality of the show and the quality of the story. But yes, anyway, with that said though, fantastic episode. Can't wait to see where we go from here. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I've left a link down below to my Patreon. You'll be able to find the early and cut reactions to Heated Rivalry and all the other shows that I do. Also left a link to my Twitch, my Discord, and my socials, so be sure to follow them if you are interested. And yes, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.